Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're going to break down the Hajj into a practical, day-by-day field guide. Think of this as a masterclass in how to prepare for one of the most incredible spiritual expeditions on Earth.
All right, let's just jump right into the core philosophy here. A successful Hajj is, believe it or not, about 90% logistics. Now, why is that? Because if you master the practical stuff, the planning, the packing, the physical challenges, you free up your mind for the 10% that really matters, the spiritual experience. If you're dehydrated or your feet are covered in blisters, you just can't focus. So, where do we start? Well, it all begins with your mindset, and that mindset starts with your gear. Before you take a single step on this journey, you need to build your physical arsenal. This is an endurance event for sure.
Now, this isn't just a packing list, it's basically your survival kit, and a few things are absolutely non-negotiable. First, comfortable, already broken-in shoes. Your feet are going to swell, trust me. That spray bottle? It's going to be your best friend in that heat. And a heavy-duty power bank because, let's be real, finding a wall outlet is like finding a needle in a haystack.
And this right here, this is what you carry on you every single day. Forget a big, clunky backpack. This lean setup is all you need. And I want to point out two things specifically. Your ID and that wristband. They're absolutely critical. I mean, think about it. If you faint from the heat in a crowd of 1 million people, this is how medics will know who you are. It's your lifeline.
Okay, gears sorted. Now let's talk about the first big ritual step, entering the sacred state of Ihram. This isn't just about wearing 2 white cloths, it's a complete shift in your state of being, and it comes with a very strict set of rules.
And here are the big ones. On the do side, it's all about your intention, your focus on prayer. But the don'ts are where it gets tricky. No cutting your hair or nails, no perfume, and maybe the hardest one, no arguing, no disputes. You're there for total devotion. If you break one of these rules, even by accident, you land yourself in what's called the expiation zone, which means you'll have to pay a penalty.
So, you're all prepped. You're in a state of Ihram. Now comes the main event. Let's walk through the 5-day expedition step by step, because each day brings its own unique challenge.
And here's the map of your journey. This is your entire world for the next 5 days. You're going to move from Makkah to Mina, then out to Arafat and Muzdalifah, and then circle back. Getting this map locked in your head is huge for just staying oriented.
Day 1. You arrive in Mina. And what's the first thing you notice? A city of literally thousands of identical white tents. The #1 challenge is just finding your way back to your own tent. It's so easy to get lost. The solution? It's simple, but it's genius. Bring a roll of neon-colored duct tape and mark your tent. It's a tiny thing that will save you a world of stress.
Now we're at day 2, and this is the heart of the Hajj. This is the absolute spiritual peak of the entire pilgrimage. It's also, without a doubt, a major test of your physical endurance.
You're on the plains of Arafah, and here's the one condition you cannot fail. You must be within the boundaries of Arafah by noon. If you miss this window, you have missed the Hajj. Period. And the biggest issue you'll face is the brutal sun and a very real risk of heat stroke.
So how do you handle it? This is not the time to be tough. You're going to be using that spray bottle constantly. You're going to pour water over your head, and if you feel dizzy or faint, you sit down immediately. Taking care of your body is what allows you to fulfill the spiritual duty.
That night, you move to Muzdalifah. You'll rest under the open sky and collect little pebbles for the next ritual. Pro tip, don't waste an ounce of energy looking for the perfect pebbles. Any small stones right where you are will do the job just fine. Your energy is way more precious.
All right, now we are entering the final phase. These are the last big rites, and they're the most logistically complex part of the journey. This is where your situational awareness is everything.
So what you're looking at here is the Jemarat Bridge, where the stoning ritual happens. But this isn't just a photo, it's a heat map. And that deep red color shows you the most dangerous times to be there. We're not just talking about it being crowded. We're talking about a real risk of deadly stampedes.
So, the strategy here is critical. You have to avoid those peak hours in the red zone. That means you either go very late at night, after 1 a.m., or very early in the morning. And as you can see, the complex is multi-leveled. Stick to the upper bridge or the roof. It is so much safer. Seriously, this isn't about comfort. It is a matter of life and death.
Next up, the Qurbani, or the ritual sacrifice. Years ago, this was a huge logistical challenge, but now there's a brilliant hack. You use the modern voucher system, and the real pro move? You buy your coupon in your home country before you even leave.
The logistics are handled for you, and you can focus entirely on the spiritual meaning of the act.
And at last, the final tawaf, circling the Kaaba one last time. By this point, you're going to be running on fumes, just profound physical and emotional exhaustion. And the solution is simple. If you need a wheelchair, rent one. Use the less crowded second floor. There's absolutely no shame in it. Preserving your health is part of the worship.
Okay, before we wrap up, we need to talk about what are called the silent logistical killers. These are 4 seemingly small things that can completely derail your journey if you're not ready for them.
You've got the toilet crisis. The lines are no joke. The answer? Go before dawn. Then there's getting lost. Your phone's not going to work, so you need a hyper-specific meeting point. Not the clock tower, but under the Starbucks sign at the clock tower. Then there's the shove. You will get pushed. The key is to not push back. Just say, "Forgive me," and step aside. And finally, don't be a stone hoarder. You only need a handful of pebbles. Don't weigh yourself down.
So, after all of this intense logistical planning, what's the big takeaway? Why does any of this stuff really matter?
It all comes down to this one powerful idea. Presence always overrides perfection. All the planning, the gear, the strategic thinking, it's all just a means to an end. It's all designed to get the logistical noise out of your head so you can be fully present in your heart. You see, the goal isn't a flawless pilgrimage where everything goes according to plan. That's just not going to happen. The goal is to have a present pilgrimage. So the question I'll leave you with is this. If you can let go of that anxiety, that need for everything to be perfect, what kind of incredible spiritual space might you create for yourself?